estate market tonight with 7 News reporter Emily Griffin.
At Lake Ontario Realty in Chameau, the property contract folders are stuffed full, realtors are working double time, and houses are flying off the market.
We've had a really pleasant surprise in that the market has gotten increasingly chaotic and busy. Homes are selling that have sat on the market for a while. We don't have enough inventory, so anything that's hitting the market is getting scooped up pretty quick.
Rebounding from the COVID-19 pandemic, lenders are lowering interest rates to percentages realtors have never seen before.
I had a buyer that was quoted 4.3 through an online lender, and then locally they were quoted 2.8. So that is a lot of house that they are able to afford extra.
And buyers are jumping at the opportunity. Realtors say a reasonably priced home is only lasting on the market for about 4 days. Sometimes they sell even before the sign is in the ground.
The sign is going up, and before it's even in the MLS, people are driving by and calling, and within 24 hours, it's got multiple offers.
Welcome to another edition of Confidently Speaking with DOC. I am your host, David Doc Shirey, author of the book, Rare Confidence, Strategies and Inspiration to Strengthen Your Belief that you can achieve anything. Episode number 22 on tap tonight, and we are talking buying and selling real estate during a global pandemic. I mean, home is more important than ever. We're spending all our time here, so why wouldn't home be more important than ever? But before we bring our expert panel on board tonight, just a reminder that the program is designed to be participatory, which means that you are to comment, fire your questions at our panel, and if you could share the video, that will extend the show's reach. And if you do that, I owe you a beer the next time I see you. We have got a really, really strong panel for you tonight. Let's meet them. Jeffrey Stepinski is a residential realtor with Coldwell Banker in Squirrel Hill, where he also lives. Jeffrey's been in the business for more than 7 years and primarily focuses in the East End of Pittsburgh and also specializes in vacation homes located in Seven Springs and Hidden Valley. Jeff helps clients both buy and sell everything from investment properties to million-dollar residential listings. Tina Cicero is a licensed PA realtor and is in the top 7% of Berkshire Hathaway's leading edge society. Tina specializes in residential, commercial, new construction, foreclosures, and short sales, as well as investment properties to flip. Tina enjoys cooking, yoga, coffee, and alcohol, and has been married for almost 21 years with 4 kids. Tina's friends would describe her as a hippie witch doctor. David Munt has been an entrepreneur since the age of 22 when he purchased his family's hardware business. In South Florida, the Signature International Real Estate Company brought David on board, and within 8 months, he was the #1 realtor. A winner of prestigious awards, David is one of the top agents in all of South Florida to the luxury home market. Hello, realtors.
Hey.
Hey.
How you doing, Doc?
Well, I'm doing great. I can't thank you guys enough for being on the show tonight. I know how busy each of you are. I see all 3 of you on the internet doing deals what seem like almost hourly. And I know that, like I mentioned, home is more important than ever. I mean, we can't get out of the house. Where are we going to go? Nothing's open. And if they are open, they won't let you in. And it's just not a great situation out there. And that's why people are spending so much time at home, and I really couldn't have picked 3 stronger agents to have on the show, so I'm really fortunate. Some questions I'm going to direct at you individually, and a bunch I'm going to throw out to the group. But I work with my man, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, I love seeing you and your family down at our pool, and just such a great neighborhood for us to live in. And I got to thinking about the neighborhood. And, Squirrel Hill as a whole, for people that don't know our neighborhood, Somerset and Frick Park, we are built on a slag heap. And for anybody that doesn't know what slag is the byproduct of steel making. And for 100 years, the steel companies, when I say the byproduct, what I really mean is the crap. It's like the waste of steel making. So for 100 years, the steel companies would dump this stuff on the side of the river. And our neighborhood is literally built on a mountain of this stuff, really part of Squirrel Hill within the city of Pittsburgh. And it is probably the most tested piece of land in all of Pennsylvania. They wanted to make sure that it was not only environmentally correct and safe, but that our kids didn't have like a third arm growing out of their head or something from the chemicals, right? So here we are. And, I want to show this clip that our neighborhood uses to market themselves, because it's hard to believe when I show this that we are literally about 5 minutes from downtown Pittsburgh. So, Jeff, my first question to you is, as I see you enjoying video of our beloved hood, is, housing values in our neighborhood and in Squirrel Hill as a whole have really been a really great investment. I mean, more so than the city and most suburban neighborhoods. What is it about our neck of the woods that holds its value and grows at such a rapid rate?
Well, and in our neighborhood in particular, I mean, it's the newest neighborhood built in the city of Pittsburgh since World War II. I mean, the newest neighborhood since World War II. That's a long time ago. You know what I mean?
Sure is.
So, I mean, the reason why our homes values stay so good is because it's new construction. The neighborhood sells itself. The neighborhood pool, the gym, like this is a suburban community within the city. That's why it continues to retain its value. In my personal, and then also people can come into these homes with little work instead of buying a 100-year-old home in Central Squirrel Hill or Point Breeze. They don't have to do $60,000 to $80,000 worth of work just on the unsexy stuff. Furnaces and roofs and foundations. You move in here, change the paint, maybe the kitchen, and you're ready to go. So
I do know. I live in one of those 100-year-old homes, and you look at the greater Squirrel Hill neighborhood. And even in those homes, just kind of an average Squirrel Hill home really holds its value and really appreciates at a pretty good clip.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since our neighborhood doesn't really have that large of a yard, but we do have Frick Park at our doorstep. But Central Squirrel Hill, I mean, you have, the walking business district, you have, all the community faith things that happen here. And I mean, all the schooling too. The schooling really, with the pandemic, it's kind of crazy, but the schooling really pulls a lot of people into this neighborhood. So it will always retain its value for the schools in the neighborhood,
I know, Jeffrey, I can't tell you how many people that have referred to our neighborhood as a modern day Mayberry. So not too far away from that. All right.
Hey, I'm on my third house here. I'll take it any day of the week.
Absolutely. You and Roman are up there, man. You guys are like in a race. All right. Now Tina, you're the best.
I was just going to say that neighborhood sounds like a one-stop shop.
It absolutely is.
All the amenities.
Tina, you're good people. You always crack me up. Before we get into real estate, Tina, I'm not sure that people realize, I don't want to get too off topic here.
You are my rabbi.
People don't know that I once officiated the renewal of your vows to my man, Pete. So amongst other hidden skills that people didn't know I had, I actually once officiated a wedding. And that was
He was my rabbi. He was amazing. Yes. It was fun.
So I
was honored to have you do it.
Well, I was honored to do it, Tina, and it's a great memory. Tina, you have a reputation around town as somebody who can take a difficult situation when it comes to a real estate transaction and just get her done, as they say. I mean, how did you build that reputation, and how do you do it?
Well, I think the very beginning of my career, I worked under a gentleman who dealt strictly with foreclosures and short sales. So in the infancy of my career, that's all I did. And those are probably the most difficult situations and the most difficult transactions. So whenever I had a normal residential deal, it was a breeze. I really think that I treat everybody, whether it's a $60,000 house or a $600,000 house, the same. And if they look me in the eye and say, I want this house, no matter what obstacles are in front of us, a bad inspection report, the appraisal, I will go head on and attack those to get the job done for my client and get them their dream house.
And I will vouch for that. I know your clients love you. Thanks for coming on with us tonight, Tina. And last but certainly not least, my man David Munn. David, we were kind of joking last night on Facebook, and somebody referenced your smile. And I don't really comment on other dudes' smiles too often, but I said, when my man David smiles, it's Magic Johnson-esque, man. You have got just a great smile about you, and really, you look like a guy that I want to do business with. And my first question to you, David, really is,
Wow.
You're kind of the realtor to the stars down there in South Florida. You deal with really high-end luxury homes. And I guess my question to you, David, is what makes the very high-end real estate business especially unique?
Well, the easy answer is it's all about the lifestyle. And thank you for all the compliments. South Florida attracts people from all over. Originally, I'm from Pittsburgh. I moved down here in 2005 because of the lifestyle. I happen to like the beach, the sun. I like golf. I like to be outside all year round. The schools here are amazing. There's a little bit of something for everybody. In terms of the luxury real estate market, that particular buyer prefers amenities, luxury amenities. They want beautiful views from their backyard. They want home theaters in their house. They want waterfront views. They want just every quality high-end finishes. They want magnificent kitchens. A lot of entertaining goes on down here. It's a very unique market, and the buyers and sellers that live in this bubble, which is this area is often referred to, is it's almost second to none. I happen to love it here in South Florida, and wouldn't go anywhere else.
I happen to love it in South Florida as well, although those cribs we just looked at, I can only think about when I fall asleep at night. But yeah, I mean, when you have discerning taste like that and the means to go get it, why shouldn't you get what you want, right? And that's why they bring David on board. All right, Jeffrey, the city of Pittsburgh as a whole, how would you classify the current market here in Pittsburgh right now?
I'm going to say that, the current market, just this week, I feel like things kind of stalled out. I feel like a lot of people are, in the process of getting their kids into some sort of schooling again, which is kind of chaos for everybody right now. So I feel like just this kind of week, things have slowed down a bit. But in just a few particular neighborhoods within the city, I feel that some neighborhoods are being a little bit overrun with inventory, and things are just a bit higher priced. So, if you've got the right buyer, because bank rates are still so low that you can go get whatever you want, So,
Tina, what's it like out in the suburbs?
If you are selling a home in the suburbs, you're golden. As he just said, rates are currently today at 2.9% on a 30-year conventional. You have pretty good credit, super, super low. The instant you put the house on the market, the next day you'll have 10 to 17 buyers through. And usually the day after that, you have multiple offers. Houses are going usually several $1,000s over what they're listed for. And they're justified by the multiple offer situation to an appraiser. They're appraising usually with no problem because of that. A lot of agents are using some different kind of tools to get those to be the winner. Escalation clauses, offering super duper amounts of hand money, non-refundable, offering to pay the seller's transfer taxes, just very unique and creative ways to get the property. But the demand is higher than the inventory right now. So if you put a house on the market, it's guaranteed to be gone.
Tina, I have a good question. Are you finding those buyers from the city? Are you finding more city buyers, or are those people that are already in the suburbs that are upgrading?
Honestly, when I'm the list, I have probably 16 listings this year that have sold. I don't really know the answer to that question, where they're coming from.
Yeah.
But I do personally have 2 city buyers that are moving to the suburbs, and we just began our search, but they were from the city moving to the suburbs.
Yeah, I've got some people doing that right now. So
we've seen a huge influx of people from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Canada, California. I've sold 2 properties virtually through FaceTime. A lot of cash deals lately. The wealthier people are leveraging their cash and very strong terms to get a better price on the property. Not just price, but to outbid somebody else, because the really good properties are in high demand. As Tina and Jeffrey said, the inventory is very low right now. And, when something really nice and exceptional comes on the market, it's gone within minutes.
So I want to ask you guys a question about COVID specifically. Now, I know here in Pennsylvania, we have a lot of rules about in restaurants and in public what we can do just as the general public. And I came across a couple things as I was researching the show that are like guidelines for the real estate industry. And I thought to myself, are people really doing these things? Like opening, if you're a seller, opening doors and leaving cabinets open and turning on all the lights and leaving windows open for the air to circulate. And if you're a buyer, not touching surfaces and driving there in your own car so you don't have to get in a car with a realtor and putting plastic baggies on your shoes and those sort of things. Is there anything specific that you guys are doing differently here during COVID?
I mean, we're doing that. We're basically following the CDC guidelines just to make sure that, both our sellers and the buyers are completely protected as best we can. There was a period of time shortly after a lot of the restrictions came into place that a lot of my listings, my sellers, just took their properties temporarily off the market. They didn't want strangers coming in and out of the house. Now things have eased up a little bit, so those properties have become available again.
Yeah, vacant houses are much easier to show than houses with people already in them. I mean, that's, I had deals in early, late February, March that got really dragged out because, people didn't want, buyers coming back to the house once it was under contract. It was a little bit of a mess, but, we get through it,
We had some crazy guidelines. At some point, we had 3 different addendums that needed to be signed back and forth, buyer and seller, before we even entered the house. Gloves, masks, and booties. I felt like I was walking into an OR. It was kind of crazy. But now, people needed to buy and sell a house.
Yeah, no doubt. And, I know that virtual tours have been a big part of your industry now for a bunch of years. But now during COVID, has virtual tours taken on a greater significance to what you do?
Oh, yeah. Matterport cameras. Totally.
And I mean, this house right here looks pretty nice. What do you think that goes for, David?
Where's it located?
Boca.
I'm getting rained on, guys.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Well, get to safety there quickly, Tina.
I'm safe.
All right, great.
Yeah, everyone from using drone cameras to Matterport cameras. I mean, anything you can do to get that tour on so people don't have to really leave their house, but I'm not going to lie. Sometimes a house really doesn't make sense until you actually get into it,
I've found that virtual tours and videos they're very useful, not only before people come and actually see the property, but after they see it. Once you've brought someone into the house and they happen to, like that particular one, they go back to your listing, they go back to the videos, they take their time, and the the stronger realtors will actually spend the money to produce, very high quality video productions, high quality HDR photography, drone photography, and more.
Yeah, I would imagine if a buyer looks at 2 or 3 houses and then they want to go back and discuss with their significant other, those videos would probably make a huge part in kind of refreshing their memory and picturing themselves in that space.
Another option that I've been doing, not too much recently just because I've been so busy, but once we got back into the green, I would actually go into my own listing and host a virtual open house. I would Facebook Live it, and I would walk around and narrate, and anybody can join in and view the virtual tour that way, because people didn't feel comfortable going in the house. So I went in myself and did my own little video.
Makes perfect sense. Let me ask you guys this. In the age of COVID, and we also have a lot of unrest in some of our cities, and people are working virtually, and the need to go into a downtown urban core is less and less, and dealing with traffic and all those things. Have you guys seen a move away from cities due to these factors at all?
I myself recently have seen people in the city buying vacation homes outside of Pittsburgh, like Seven Springs, Hidden Valley. Like, a lot of people are buying properties up in vacation ski places that they would normally buy, and usually the inventory up there, with Seven Springs, they had 47 homes on the market. Now there's only 20.
Wow.
That's a lot of, and the worst part about those properties is they don't really appreciate it.
Right. Right. All right, let's talk about the market. And I know in the markets that we're in, we've pretty much established that they are sellers markets. What other factors contribute to what makes a market a buyer's or a seller's market besides just the availability of housing inventory?
I would say the demand for the lifestyle at the time. So for now, home offices are very important. So if you find the need where people are working from home now, maybe they need 2 offices, they need a bigger house, an extra bedroom that they'll convert into an office. A lot of people are coming out of condominiums and apartment buildings. We see a large influx of that, especially from the north. If anyone has lived through the pandemic and had to share an elevator with their other residents in a building, the single family home market has escalated, to a new heights in demand.
I would also say that rates, the interest rates right now, people who don't think they could even buy a house, who've been renting, spending thousands of dollars a month, after they talk to a lender and realize they could get qualified, they could purchase a house with taxes included for less than what they're renting for. So I just had a buyer lock in a rate of 2.35%.
Wow. Wow. Well, that was my next question. And I'm glad you brought that up, Tina, and thanks for weighing in, David. Let's talk about rates for a minute, because I think to a lot of newer home buyers or people that really don't have a lot of experience, it's kind of a little bit of a mystery. How does a buyer get the best rate? And really, what are the best rates right now?
Today's rate is 2.9. Sorry, guys.
That's right.
Take it away, Tina.
Today's rate in Pittsburgh is 2.9 on a conventional loan if you have pretty good credit.
Now, does the size of the loan matter in terms of the rate? Like if you had a humongous, like a
jumbo loan, it would depend. They're slightly higher.
All right. What are some of the other factors?
Credit.
Specifically for getting a loan, or for the first time home buyers?
Credit score.
Let's say you're a first time home buyer. I'm thinking of young people that are maybe 4 or 5 years out of college. They get engaged. They want to buy a house. How do they go about finding the best rate?
They ask their parents for the money.
They could get a gift. They could get a down payment gift. Absolutely.
Yes, most do.
Step one is to always consult a mortgage broker. I have a lot of people that call me up and they say, hey, I want to go looking at houses, and they have numbers in their head. They don't have a pre-approval. They haven't talked to a lender, and they typically skip over that step. So we try to redirect them. Whereas a good loan originator will take their financials, calculate their debt to income ratios, look their credit scores, and basically give them a roadmap as to what they can afford, high end or low end.
I want to ask you guys a question about pricing. Now, listen, I'm a businessman. I've taught people how to negotiate. I don't have a lot of experience buying and selling homes. I've bought 2, I've sold 1. Here's what I learned about selling 1, and you guys tell me if I'm on the right track or not. So you're about to sell a house, and there's all these people in the market right now that are looking at houses in that price range. When a new house comes on the market, you get 1 pass out of this big bucket of people that's in the market. But if you price your house wrong, you get that pass and they're gone. And then you kind of got to wait until one more person comes on. And then it slows down almost to a trickle. Am I way off base, or am I any validity to that theory?
So I can speak in our market. Timing is very critical. And a lot of times when I have sellers reach out to me that want to sell their homes, we have not just a price conversation, but the time of year. We're very cyclical here. And it's probably similar around the rest of the country for certain markets like family communities or family homes that are in good school districts. They get busier in spring and summer because people want to be situated in their new school district to get registered at that time. Here in South Florida, we have a lot of retirement communities that are very popular in the winter time. So, there's different trends. So when we run our analytical reports, we will basically break it down over the year to see what time of year is the best time to sell. It's like, ice cream doesn't sell as much in the wintertime up north as it does in the summertime. So it's not just a price conversation, it's timing also.
I currently have a listing in the city where I tried to force the seller to get the house on the market quicker. They wanted to wait because of COVID. They didn't want anybody in the house. The home is vacant. By a week, they got it on the market, and now it's just like you said. Everyone was in the house, overpriced. Have a great day, and now it's price drop. What else can we do to sell the house? So.
Sorry.
Right.
I was just going to say a good market analysis upon meeting the client, knowing the most recent comps within a 5-mile radius, most similar. A lot of sellers think their house is worth more than it is, and to show them black and white, facts, numbers, prices, lay it all out there, have a good marketing strategy. If we price it at, a couple percent higher than, or a couple of $1,000s higher than we think, this is what you're going to end up with. This is the days on market time frame. If we price it a little bit lower, we're probably going to get multiple offers. To drive up the price.
Right.
It's all,
a lot of it has to do with
facts are important.
Setting expectations has been the most important conversation for me during those listing appointments, those initial meetings. We are the experts. We have a fairly good idea, or should have a fairly good idea, of what the property should finally sell for. And then the listing price becomes a strategy conversation that's truly up to the seller. We don't have to take a listing if we think someone's being unreasonable, and we're going to invest a lot of time and money into selling their property. But I've also seen a lot of people that have to go through the process, even though you can explain it up front. If you list a little on the high side and you've said up front, let's give this a shot, but the market is bearing this particular price for now, you'll still get that client loyal to you because you've set the expectations up front. Conversely, we compete with a lot of agents that'll come in and say, oh, your house is worth X, and it's an unbelievable number high just to get the listing. And then that particular seller becomes very disappointed when the property just sits.
And I would imagine as an agent, you want to have a great reputation. So you don't want to be known as the person who's always overpricing houses, because those houses sit for a while. All right, we've got a great question here from Jim Bennett. And Jim Bennett wants to know, are there any investments right before selling that create more value than they cost?
Paint.
Curb appeal.
Curb appeal and paint, yeah.
Power wash
They
your
kind of
house.
go hand in hand, man.
Yep. Clean.
Put some flowers out.
Yeah.
Shine up your mailbox.
I mean, to sell for top dollar, your house has to show top dollar. A lot of people get in their head, well, I'll just give them a credit. that removes the emotional piece from the purchase. If you're buying an investment property, that's a completely different buyer. If you're selling to an end user, they get very emotional. They get very attached to the property. If there's signs of neglect anywhere, in their minds, the house becomes devalued.
A lot of clients want a finished product. They want HDTV. They want to walk in. They want to see that everything's done and not have to do anything, unless you have the particular buyer that's like, I want to rip out all the bathrooms and redo all this stuff.
Right. What about staging a home for sale? Like actually paying a company to come in and making your place look like a television set?
Depends on the price point of the property. In our world, we've seen a lot of success with virtual staging. So we'll take a vacant property, we'll have it virtually staged, we'd put digital furniture in there and make it look amazing. Obviously, our job is to get the people to the property. Once they're there, you can give them the vision of putting their own furniture there, or at least they can go back and reference the photos. And it's much less expensive than real staging.
All right, I want to bring up a topic that may be a little touchy with you guys, but I know it comes up from time to time, and it really has to do with like agents and agents' fees. Now, I kind of have a graphic up here as to how realtors get paid, but the question is, and I'm a guy that's been in business for a while, and I truly believe that you don't, if you're a seller, that you're always selling based on price and commodity. Well, that's what you're going to get, but so there are times where certainly it makes sense to pay for quality, and that's better. But how do you guys handle when you have a client that wants to negotiate your fee down? Is that something that happens a lot of times? And
That's what we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
the short answer is yes. Our business, our industry is changing. There's a lot of discount brokers out there that seemingly come up front with lower commissions, a commission structure that's maybe more appealing. However, you don't get the service. And I know that sounds a little salesy, but a strong negotiator, and in our world, standard commissions are 6%. If we share it with another broker, we split it 3% each side. However, some brokers, the discount brokers, will do a listing for 5%. On $1 million property, the 1% that the seller thinks they're saving is $10,000. However, a strong negotiator will make that up for them far greater than the $10,000 that they think they're saving. Someone's going to come in and negotiate and put an offer in of $925,000, and then we need to bring them up because you're negotiating by much bigger swings than that 0.5% or 1% that a lot of the other discount brokers are offering.
Yep.
I think by showing them in black and white again, what you bring to the table and the percentage, ours is 6% pretty much too, between 5 and 7, 6 is the norm. And once you explain to them and show them the numbers that what their proceeds would be, 1% doesn't make or break. They say, oh yeah, you're worth it. And I usually show them a piece of paper. I usually say it's split between this company and this company, the buyer and the seller. And then I split this with my brokerage, and then I have to pay taxes, and then they really get it. Oh, wow. You are 100% commission.
Right.
You are going to walk away with not with the 6%, the whole 6% for yourself. It sort of makes sense if you explain it to them or just upfront.
Sure. I would imagine also that the people that want to, knock off a point or two on your commissions, they're going to be ones that are the most difficult to deal with probably throughout the whole process too. So,
And their house might be overpriced.
Right. David, I have a question for you specifically. My wife and I both lifelong Pittsburghers. There was a time in my life, probably up until recently, that I could never see myself anywhere but in Pittsburgh. I don't know if that'll ever change, but if it would change, about the only place I would go would be South Florida. I've got family in Miami.
Good choice.
Yeah, I've got, I know Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood area very well. I guess one of the challenges is every time I've kind of been down there and just for giggles, I've looked at some condos and kind of, the ones that are like in my range, which are probably low for the things you sell. But for an average guy like me, they all kind of smell like grandma and they hit you over the head with the homeowners association fees. I mean, what's the market like right now for condos close to the water in your neck of the woods, David?
Well, COVID has had a big effect on that. The condo market is not as attractive as it once was because a lot of people are shifting out of those and coming into the single family homes. However, anything near the water is usually desirable. There's so many different condo buildings here in South Florida, especially the ones along the ocean, and they've been that way for 50, 60, 70 years. So a lot of the buildings are older, but there is a wave of newer buildings. However, the prices go up with new construction. It's kind of consistent across the board. In condominiums, when buying in a building, you have to make sure that the building reserve funds the reserves are well funded. Buildings need maintenance over the years, and they'll need new balconies, new roofs, and some buildings, believe it or not, don't hold back reserves from their monthly or quarterly condo fees. And when they need a new roof, they need elevator repairs or replacement, general updating, the condos get hit with hefty assessments, and that takes a big hit on values, and you see a spike in everyone selling, and then try to pass the assessments on to the next person, and it becomes a downward spiral.
Right. Whenever I'm in Pittsburgh and I think about going to Florida, and the business I've been in for the last few years, I've probably made 6, 7, 8 trips a year to South Florida. But every time I go, I think about laying at the pool and all the gorgeous people and the bikinis laying out. And last year, Lisa and I were there over the holidays, and we had a couple hours to kill on a rainy day, so we actually went and looked at an apartment. Then the skies opened up, and it became a nice day. We went out to the pool, and there were people laying out there with walkers, and I was like, I don't know that this is the condo we want to buy into. So, all right, my next question for you guys is, if somebody is looking to sell or buy a house, what kind of questions should they be asking a realtor so they can decide, is this the person I want to represent me to be able to get the best deal?
I think experience obviously comes into play. You don't just want to pick someone who's, a newbie in the market. How many transactions have you had, in the past 6 months?
Those are always strong questions.
Also, a lot of people think that they should hire the person who is most close to the area. I always like to get those deals because they say Agent X sells every house in this neighborhood. Why shouldn't I pick her over you? Well, if she sells all the houses in the neighborhood, she doesn't care which one sells because they're all her listing. So I always like to promote myself into a new neighborhood because I'm going to work the hardest to get your house sold out of all of these houses. So I always, yeah.
People know that about you. That's great. All right, tell me this, guys, because when we bought the house that we live in, and we've been here for 18 years now, we actually had to buy the house before we even sold the other house. And I believe they called it a bridge loan. Are there other strategies? How do typical people buy a house before they sell the one that they're in?
You use an addendum, and it's called contingent on the sale and settlement of your other property. So if you already have your property listed and you're trying to buy a house, you would have to close on your first home to buy the new home. I love doing those. Mostly, actually, more than half of my business is that. You have to orchestrate it very well. So you just, the timing is right. But you work hard on both sides to get it done. And then you literally close on one house and you turn around and use the proceeds from the sale to buy the new house. But it's a contingency addendum is what it is.
Agreed with Tina. The simultaneous closings have to be well orchestrated, and make sure you have an experienced agent to help you get through that process. You have to
pay attention to detail with that.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, tell me about earnest money. I hear this all the time. We gave money in earnest, and I know that's something that happens to show good faith. What exactly is that, and is it something that's refundable if the deal falls through?
I mean, it's the money that you're using to hold your house. Like, you're putting your money down to hold that spot. And sometimes in multiple offer situations, it can work where you're going to put more earnest money, we call it hand money down, to actually hold that spot. So let's say you're really interested in a house. Instead of everyone dropping $5,000, you put up $50,000. So that really means that you're a pretty serious buyer. Even if you're going to come with a conventional mortgage, if you come with bigger hand money, sometimes that'll hold your spot, because sometimes you can get into a situation with that hand money where you get through your inspection and, hey, I need a new sewer line, the kitchen's leaking, you have all these problems, and it could come down to, well, you've got this big hand money and you don't want the house anymore, and someone might take you to, a district magistrate to get that money because you don't want to buy the house anymore,
It's like trying to get a table at Joe Stonecrabs. You give him a $10 bill, you may not get in for an hour. If you give him 100, he has a spot for you back in the corner on the water. I got it.
Typical hand money is usually, in a normal world, is 1 to 2% of the purchase price, at least in Pittsburgh area. But
10% down here.
Not in Florida. But lately you see big hand money just because you're in a bidding war with people, and that's usually one strategy to make your deal a little bit more sweet than someone else's.
All right, let's talk a little bit about PMI, private mortgage insurance. Is it still the general rule that if your down payment is less than 20%, you need to purchase private mortgage insurance?
Yes.
Yes.
None of us are mortgage brokers, but for the most part, yes.
All right. So help our viewers understand, because you guys are the advisors to the buyers and sellers. What is the purpose of private mortgage insurance? Like, who is that insuring? The bank?
The lender.
It's insuring the lender.
Yes, the bank.
Okay. So that brings me to the next question. Let's go back to that mythical young couple that's in their mid to late 20s that wants to buy their first house. And let's say they're going to buy a $400,000 house. Well, listen, I was no math major, but I know that was what I carried it to. That's $80,000 down at 20%, right? How does a young couple buy a house with not 20% down?
Lenders have a lot of different programs for first-time home buyers. FHA loans typically you only need 3.5%. So if you're buying a $400,000 house, 3.5% is minimal. You have to have that in liquid cash. That'll be your down payment. They also calculate in any taxes, insurance payments that you need to make sure you can cover your costs. It's a very easy way to at least get started.
A gift is also factored in a lot of times from a family member. Also, there's seller assist. It is a percentage of your closing costs that you could ask the seller to contribute to. If it's an FHA loan, you could get up to 6% seller assist in most cases. Conventional, 3%. That helps with the closing costs for your down payment and all of your costs rolled in. The seller would contribute.
Let's talk a little bit about home inspections, because I know in your business that brokers and agents, home inspections can be tricky things, right? Do you guys have any home inspection horror stories of things that popped up at the last minute that maybe blew up a deal?
How much time do we have?
Give me your best one, Tina.
I was actually it wasn't really a home inspection, but I was the listing agent, and we had 1 week prior to closing, and it was right before Christmas, and my seller's roof leaked through the bedroom down into the kitchen, and we had to obviously tell the buyer what was going on, and we had a homeowner's insurance claim, and the buyer stuck around because they really wanted the house, but it was a crazy, crazy, crazy experience. They had to come in and look at everything and, find out who we were hiring for the job to get done and approve of everything, and had a mold remediation company come in just in case. It was pretty crazy. It took about three weeks additionally to close, but it happened.
I would imagine that's where you guys' professionalism and negotiation skills really come into play.
I got the call at 11:30 from my seller, and he said, there is water pouring into my kitchen and bedroom from the roof. And I was like, oh my God.
I had a final walkthrough where a foundation wall fell down in the garage.
Oh, jeez.
It's still closed. It took a little bit of time, but it's still closed. But the final walkthrough, the inspector said the garage is a little bit wet, but we didn't know that there was a drainage area behind it that had been retaining water, and the whole wall just came in before the closing. So that was.
Now, David, isn't the idea of the inspection really to find major flaws or major things that are going to cost the new homeowner money, and it really isn't designed to be nickel and dime, right?
Material defects.
Yeah, I mean, there's two functions to the home inspection that I at least prep for. Yes, the major defects, like Tina said, anything that's not visible. When you come and look at a property, you can visually see why I like these finishes. You may not know the condition of the roof. I have plenty of roof stories, just like Tina has. But it's also a checklist for the new homeowners to know what they're buying, whether it's weather stripping around a door, caulking around a tub, little maintenance items that it's really nice to hand off to a new homeowner just to know, like, look, if you're not buying a brand new home, or even if you are, here's a checklist of things for maintenance reasons that you should at least be aware of and try to correct. In what I've seen is the homes that have been well maintained over the years always sell for more money.
Without a doubt, it makes perfect sense. Let's talk for a minute about investment properties. So if you have somebody that's looking to get into buying their first investment property, what are some things they should be looking for in a potential investment property, and what are some red flags that they should avoid?
I deal with a lot of investors, veteran investors who've been doing it for 30 years, as well as new first-time home buyers that want to get into investing. And I usually, my recommendation is let's not look at foreclosures or short sales, because we don't know upfront any problems or issues that the house has, because there's usually not a seller disclosure. They usually look for estates that someone has lived in the house that does have the seller disclosure, and that's sort of your guide. It sort of gives you a snapshot of any issues that that are currently known about the property. I usually say don't, cosmetic things. Let's just worry about a house that doesn't need a lot to start out with. And I have a lot of investors actually that started out just with, one house, and they got educated on how to do the cosmetic things. And then we dove a little bit deeper, one that needed a roof. You always got to know ahead of time, I think, what their costs are what they're gonna incur before they flip the house or use it as a rental.
Because they make it look so easy on flip and flop. Jeffrey, what do you think?
I'm blessed enough to get my investors to just throw cash money at places. They lowball people. They get the place. They're happy. If not, life goes on.
Yeah.
That's the easiest deal you can do with investment property if you're going to throw cash at it. If it's an area that you're already somewhat invested in, but if it's an area that you don't know about, or maybe you hear about turning around, it could be, but that's my kind of thought on it.
Now, David, what about in South Florida? I imagine there's a lot of people that are, rent their places out as Airbnbs or for vacation rental by owner, VRBO. Is that a good strategy for somebody to buy a place to use as one of those sort of money-making entities, or would you advise not to?
Well, it depends on the area. A lot of the communities in this area have restrictions on the way that you can rent those properties. If you're not within a homeowners association, you're a little more free to do it that way. But South Florida really doesn't have high volume of Airbnb and VRBOs. We have them, but the opportunity cost is pretty high, and the availability is very low.
Where do you guys see the 6, 12, 18-month future of the market in the markets that you serve? You think it's going to continue to go up, or is there going to be a kind of flattening of the housing market curve here soon?
It's a good question. There's a lot of speculation. We have a lot of meetings and talk about, forecasting. COVID threw a wrench into everything. We just don't know what's going to happen. The Fed's doing their best to try to keep the market stabilized, and we're just riding that wave. In my world, with the law of economics that kick in, the single family home inventory is way down in our area. So, that demand is going to go up. However, the people that might not have income or jobs, or at least they thought they had jobs over the next 6 to 12 months, either their homes are going to go up for sale, the rental market is probably going to go through the roof because people just can't afford to live in a home and pay their mortgage anymore, strictly because of COVID.
I feel the Pittsburgh market won't get hit as hard maybe as the Florida market.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, we wrote it out in 08 here. We were fine in 08. So I feel the Pittsburgh market, I'd like to believe, will stay the same way. I know right now, like the homes between like 100,000 to 350 are flying off the market, and, at least in the city. And then the markets from, I feel like 400 to 800 are kind of dragging out. They're starting to flatten out a little bit. You know what I mean? It's that, someone maybe losing a job, or, a double family income, someone getting downsized, like, people are starting to put that into the factors of their home cost,
Now, as we begin to wrap up the show here, I want to give each of you an opportunity to tell our viewers how they can find you online or how they can contact you. And I really wanted to get 3 superstars that really didn't compete with one another. And like I said, David's kind of in South Florida, up in the Boca area. What other areas are you in there, Dave?
I service as far north as Jupiter and as far south as Miami, depending on the listing. Our company has 22 local offices, about 1,450 agents, so we can service most of Southeast Florida. My core market is Boca Raton, Delray Beach, Boynton Beach. It's dabbing into Fort Lauderdale.
And how can somebody reach you, David? Because from what I know down there, you are the top dog. And if somebody wants to buy or sell a home in your area, they really need to get a hold of you. How can they get a hold of you?
Well, I appreciate that. My phone number is 561-670-0403. I encourage people to friend me on Facebook. Just search for David Munt. I'm there. Instagram, very popular as well. I won't bore you with an email address, but I did put my business card picture on the slideshow here before we started.
You know what? Drop that in again afterward on this actual live program, Dave, if you will. And Tina,
Yes.
Tina, tell us the areas that you specialize geographically and how people can get a hold of you.
I'm all over the place, Doc. Beaver, Butler, Allegheny, Westmoreland, Lawrence, Washington County. I go everywhere. My phone number is 412-973-0046. And I do have a Facebook and an Instagram, Tina Marie Cicero Realtor. That's how you could find me.
Jeffrey, how can they find you?
Basically, you can find me at my phone number at 412-389-5769. You can find me at agentjeffreystepinski.com, or you can find me on my Facebook name, Jeffrey Stepinski Sells Real Estate, on Facebook. But,
I'll tell you where else you can find them. Right there. You find him right there. That's where I find him. Hey, listen, you guys have been great guests. I've learned a lot tonight. One of the beauties of the internet in 2020 is that this show will live in perpetuity, which is a word that I use every chance I get just because it sounds funny, perpetuity. And it will be on YouTube and Facebook forever. So feel free to distribute it out to your clients, and I can't thank you enough. I'm going to put each of you back in the virtual green room. If you can hang back there for a minute while I wrap up the show, and then we have some virtual parting gifts for each of you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. They're great guests. Honestly, they are as good as they come in the markets they serve. And if you guys are looking to buy or sell a home, please consider one of my guests tonight. All right. A week from tonight, there's no show. It's my birthday. Taking the week off of producing a show next week. However, 2 weeks from tonight, I don't know how I got roped into this, but my friend and publicist extraordinaire, Heidi Krupp Lissenden, she thinks it would make a good show if she interviews me so we can share this backstory. Where did all that confidence come from? I may rue the agree to this, but I am a man of my word, so we are going to go through it. 2 weeks from tonight, Heidi Krupp listening of Krupp Communication will be interviewing yours truly. You guys have been a great audience again tonight. I love you, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Peace.